All right, let's just dive right in. Today's explainer is a bit different. We're unpacking a really deeply emotional and honestly profoundly inspiring travel memoir. It's called The Divine Journey of South India, From an Incomplete Wish to Fulfillment by Abhishek Sharma. And look, this isn't your typical, top 10 places to visit travel guide. Not at all. Instead, it's this beautiful, raw look at how a son's heartfelt duty to his aging parents accidentally turned into this wild, unforgettable spiritual adventure across South India.
Right off the bat, the author frames the whole experience with this thought. Some journeys are not about reaching a destination. They are meant to bring us closer to our people. I just love that. It perfectly sets the stage for what we're about to see, because this is a story where faith, family, and pure serendipity completely intertwine. It's a great reminder that, honestly, the best trips aren't really about checking places off a bucket list. They're about the shared emotional connection of traveling with the people who mean the absolute most to you.
So we're following Abhishek Sharma's personal narrative, and it goes way beyond a simple travelogue. He actually reveals the immense emotional weight of being what you could call a modern-day Shravan Kumar, a devoted son who is just absolutely determined to honor his parents. When he was just a kid, they took him to Badrinath, which kind of planted the very first seeds of his faith. Now, as an adult, he's stepping up to return that huge favor. His mission? To guide them through the final leg of their sacred Char Dham pilgrimage.
Okay, let's get into Section 1, An Incomplete Wish and the Motivation. So the whole journey is anchored by this long-held family dream. His parents had already visited Badrinath, Dwarka, and Jagannath Puri. Literally the only missing link in their spiritual lifetime achievement was the great temple at Rameshwaram. But, as we all know, every great journey hits a roadblock. And for Abhishek, it was a sudden hernia surgery right in the middle of planning. Talk about bad timing, right? The surgery went fine, but the doctor gave him one non-negotiable rule: absolutely no lifting heavy luggage. Zero. And for a son planning to take care of his elderly parents on a grueling cross-country trip, making them carry the bags was just completely out of the question.
Because of this sudden physical limitation, they really had to go back to the drawing board. They sat down and slashed their ambitious travel plans into a super tight, highly controlled 5-day itinerary. We're talking Day 1, flying to Madurai, Day 2 in Rameshwaram, Day 3, Kanyakumari, Day 4, Thiruvananthapuram, and flying home on Day 5. To make this sprint work, they actually had to completely cut out a highly anticipated stop at the Sri Shailam Jyotirlinga. It was a really tough pill to swallow, but on paper, it was for sure the safest bet.
But before they even left their home in Madhya Pradesh, they had this quiet, deeply symbolic moment. They carefully packed a tiny, precious bottle of sacred river water, Ganga Jal, that they had actually brought back from previous pilgrimages up north. This wasn't just a bottle of water, guys. It literally symbolized years of accumulated devotion. They tucked it into the safest part of their luggage, destined to be poured over the Jyotirlinga at Rameshwaram as the ultimate grand finale of their spiritual journey.
Moving on to Section 2, When the Plan Changed and the Twist of Fate.
Fast forward to July 15, 2026. They arrive early at the indoor airport, absolutely buzzing with excitement. And I love this part. We get to see how modern technology beautifully intersects with ancient faith. The author introduces his parents to the DigiYatra facial recognition system. So instead of waiting in those endless, exhausting security lines, the gates just magically opened for them by reading their faces. His dad smiled and was like, "It happened that fast?" It was a small win for sure, but it set such a joyful tone for the trip. But then, disaster strikes at the check-in counter. The airline agent looks at the screen and drops a bomb. Their flight out of Indore is delayed, and not just by a little bit. It was delayed so much that they were mathematically guaranteed to miss their connecting flight to Madurai. Just like that, that surgically precise 5-day itinerary we just talked about completely ruined before they even boarded the first plane. The airline offered a refund or a flight the next day, which basically brought the whole trip to a screeching, stressful halt.
Now, in that moment of immense tension, looking at his parents' worried faces, the author has this sudden, powerful realization. Because of the delay, they were being forced to stop overnight in Hyderabad. But wait a second. Hyderabad is the exact gateway to Sri Salem, literally the very destination they had forcefully cut from their itinerary because of his surgery. It hit him right then. Maybe, just maybe, this delay wasn't a curse or a logistical nightmare. What if it was divine intervention, forcing them exactly where they were originally meant to go?
Which brings us to Section 3, Unexpected Blessing, the Sri Salam Detour. Trusting this incredible twist of fate, they didn't panic. They kept the flight to Hyderabad, spontaneously booked a cab right from the airport, and fully embraced this wild detour into the unknown. As they drove away from the concrete jungle of Hyderabad, they entered the dense Nalamala forest. It's one of the largest forest reserves in South India. The author describes it so vividly. The scent of wet earth mixing with the deep woods, monkeys hanging out in the trees, these winding roads. They were literally transitioning from urban stress into a space of profound ancient peace. Their cab driver even told them, no one comes to Sri Sailam on their own. You only come when called.
And this highlights a core takeaway from this explainer. Sometimes, God changes our paths to get us to our true destination. When they got to Sri Sailam, they experienced Sparsh Darshan. If you don't know, this is a super rare, deeply moving opportunity to actually touch the Jyotirlinga in total silence. No rushing, no pushing. Just deep, emotional stillness. Sri Sailam is also symbolically known as a place of family reunion for Shiva, Parvati, and Kartikeya, which makes it just incredibly fitting for a family trip like this. They realized that surrendering control gave them a more beautiful blessing than they could have ever planned.
All right, Section 4, towards Rameshwaram and the journey south.
The very next morning, totally refreshed and with incredibly full hearts, they headed back to the Hyderabad airport. They hopped on their rescheduled flight down to Madurai to get back on their original mission. And when they land, we meet a total game changer for their trip, their driver, Murugan. Now, remember the author's surgery rule? No heavy lifting? Well, Murugan stepped up without a second thought, handling the luggage and treating them exactly like family. He also helped them navigate some tricky cultural shifts, like the very real challenge of finding pure onion and garlic-free meals for the father's strict religious fast. When they couldn't find the exact food, his dad happily just drank almond milk instead. It just goes to show that pure devotion easily overrides minor physical inconveniences.
And this part brilliantly illustrates the visual and sensory climax of the road trip. As they drove towards Rameshwaram, Murugan excitedly pointed ahead. They were crossing the iconic Pamban Bridge. The author describes this surreal feeling where the road feels like it's literally floating on an endless expanse of bright blue ocean. With the salty sea breeze hitting them, distant fishing boats, and the roaring wind, it was this visceral reminder that they were crossing into a deeply sacred mythological landscape, literally following the ancient footsteps of Lord Rama.
And finally, Section 5, fulfillment of faith and the climax. So, they finally make it to their hotel in Rameshwaram late at night. They set their alarms for a brutal 4 a.m. start so they could beat the temple crowds. But you know that feeling when you're just too excited to sleep? The anticipation was so palpable that the entire family just woke up naturally in the dark at 3:30 a.m. No complaints at all. Stepping out into the cool, pre-dawn streets of Rameshwaram, man, the author captures this perfectly. The streets are pitch quiet, filled only with the soft sound of early morning chanting, temple bells, and the smell of incense. They looked around and saw families from North India, Maharashtra, Gujarat, local villages, all wearing different clothes, speaking different languages, but completely united by one single chant, Har Har Mahadev. Just a breathtaking moment of cultural unity.
Okay, let's walk through the actual traditional rituals they did. Step 1 was the serene money darshan in the quiet of the morning. Then, Step 2 took them to Agni Theertham, where they literally bathed in the purifying ocean waters right as the sun was coming up. Finally, for Step 3, they went into the temple complex to bathe in the waters of the 22 holy wells. And what's wild is that the author notes each and every well had a distinctly different temperature and taste, completely washing away whatever travel fatigue they had left.
Drenched in holy water, completely energized. This is where we hit the emotional peak of the entire story. The author goes back to the hotel, changes into dry traditional clothes, and very carefully picks up that small bottle of Ganga Jal. Yes, the exact same bottle they packed all the way back in Madhya Pradesh. Walking toward the inner sanctum of the great temple, he grips that bottle tightly with both hands. And he says he felt like he wasn't just carrying water anymore. He was literally holding the collective faith and legacy of his entire family right in the palms of his hands.
So the real takeaway here is the ultimate fulfillment of a son's duty. As they finally approached the Ramanathaswamy Jyotirlinga to offer that sacred water, the circle was officially complete. This massive wish that started as just a distant thought was now a reality. He looked at his parents' faces and saw this incredible peace and satisfaction that words just can't describe. He had successfully guided them to the end of their Char Dham, proving that, at the end of the day, the absolute deepest form of love is service.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. What if your biggest disruptions are actually your greatest blessings? Seriously, The next time your flight gets abruptly delayed or your meticulously crafted plans completely fall apart in front of your eyes, instead of panicking, could you just pause? Ask yourself if it might just be a hidden detour, guiding you exactly to where you are truly meant to be. Think about it. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you on the next one.